So back up a little bit, reverse now for the report that should have come before purchase. Waiting on information from Kelly Creswell, which is the manufacturer of the, well, how old is it? It's a 1997 unit that we've been in, discussion on the topic of repair and getting that back up and running, which we all know failed. Waiting on information from the manufacturer to see if they know anyone in the area who I've not been able to find who will work on the unit. One of the reasons is the lack of availability of the parts, because they changed the pump systems and all the new models run on an electronic system rather than just a pressure system, which is just a dial. So the new one we have kind of a hybrid. Takes the good stuff from an old unit, which is just start the motor up, turn the pressure up, pull the trigger, with a little bit of calibration with an electronic sending unit. So we're not ready to just throw that one in the trash yet, but we do have a unit. Prior to purchasing the new sprayer unit, I did inquire with Monroe Township. They did get back to me about borrowing a unit from them. They informed me that they actually borrow from Carlisle or South Middleton, and neither were available. The new sprayer unit is calibrated. I unfortunately had to participate in that this afternoon myself, but it's a good thing because it's ready to go. It will be field tested tomorrow morning with paint, not on the street. We were not going to go out and, but by the afternoon, weather permitting and road conditions permitting, it might be able to apply paint to the streets tomorrow. If not, it will be this week. The unit will be out in the streets, so pass the word around, watch out for the people in the streets painting, because it's pretty dangerous out there, as you are aware. Here's a report on what has been applied so far as far as paint. To date, approximately 4,500 lineal feet of crosswalk lines have been painted by hand. That includes approximately 40 gallons of paint so far, and approximately 35 stop bars. That's the minimum 12-inch wide white blob that is supposed to be positioned in front of the stop signs and crosswalks. Around 35 have been done. The machine should be able to help increase that because the hose is detachable, so we can use that for our stenciling purposes. And 3,500 lineal feet of yellow curb paint has been applied. That's approximately 30 gallons of yellow. We have plenty of yellow, and I can get more white in the event that we can continue painting, for a longer period of time. Silver Spring Township assisted in completing the processing of leaf piles at the joint compost facility in anticipation of the upcoming leaf collection season, and wastewater treatment plant employees did a great job with assisting in the care of those piles, which, if you've ever been down there, are massive. Other business as usual topics to wrap up. Report pop-up emergency sign repairs, only a few. Sinkhole issues, Curtis kind of touched on them. Haven't noticed anything major developing in any of the green spaces. MS4 collection and reporting duties have been underway. Park cleaning and maintenance, that's a huge aspect of the public works, which is, we've reduced the amount of time we're spending on that right now, so about minimum beginning of the week, end of week, and then weekend labor by the public works employees, and several roadkill collections, including one skunk.
Thank you for your sense.
For the thorough report. Do we have any additional information from the engineer?
Good evening, Bill Ruby. I'm filling in for Greg tonight. No, I don't have anything additional to report.
Committee items for Public Works, status update on capital improvement comprehensive infrastructure plan. It sounds like we'll wait for an update on that from Engineer Wigalski. Moving on, I think we'll move on to Public Safety Department reports. Chief Myers.
I received an email from a resident who who had been to a council meeting before to talk about, the problem of feral cats in the borough. We have, I just found out they're called colonies. We have colonies of them everywhere. We have a resident on Main Street who calls at least once a week to talk about the damage from the ones that are up in her house. The Humane Society contract, they don't really want, us to bring feral cats over there because they're not adoptable. But if feral cats come over, they'll be neutered and then they'll be brought back to the area where they came from. And that costs, $135.70 per cat. Several areas around us, including Lower Allen, Upper Allen, and Silver Spring, have contracts with a rescue for cats. They do the same thing. They will trap them, neuter them, and return them, thereby reducing the cat population somewhat. But Silver Spring gives them a $40 donation per cat, and the rescue pretty much either does the work or helps the resident do the work of putting the trap out, catching the cat, and then having it taken for neutering and return. Silver Springs assistant manager was very, very, very good, and she's the one that deals with it over there and was telling me all about how they do it there, and volunteered to assist us if we decide to go that way in setting up the program. The resident who was supposed to be here tonight, who wrote the email, she had come in a couple of years ago, for those of you who were on council 3 or 4 years ago. She came in to talk about the problem then. She was with a rescue at that time, but she's not right now, but she has lots of contacts with the rescue. So she was going to come in, but she had a medical procedure that's not quite healing as fast as she thought it would. When I heard about it, I said, oh, you expect it to be here. But I have a whole lot of information from several rescues. The rescue that is used by both Lower Allen and Silver Spring Township is called Nobody's Cat Foundation. The Nobody's Cat Foundation. I talked to the police chiefs first, and they said, oh, we don't know. So that means their police chiefs are having no problems with getting to hear about feral cats. They told me who deals with it in Lower Allen. It's their township manager. I don't know if they delegate or not, because I got a whole lot of information from Silver Spring Township's assistant manager, so a whole lot of good information. And they're very happy with what's going on in their township, and they said it would probably be a very good program to get started here. So I thought I had sent you guys some information, but I just got this huge booklet here this afternoon. So I do have some information on Nobody's Cat and some information from Silver Spring assistant manager, so I can make sure that you get it to look at it. But it sounds like you told me when the colonies get too large, they actually have a mass trapping, and they'll try to get as many of the cats from the colony as they can, and take them all at once to get them neutered and then return them. So their residents seem to be happy with it too. So obviously you guys don't have any feral cats by your homes.
I do.
Do you? I have 2 dogs, and
I can hear them howling outside of my house.
But sometimes it sounds, I have to listen twice, because it sounds like it's maybe a baby crying to me. I'm like, hey, there's a cat.
So would it be something that you could get to us and we could take a look at and maybe take action on at a later meeting, maybe?
Yes. Yes.
Is it like a program that we just sign up for with this rescue?
To tell you the truth, I'm not 100% positive. Silver Spring didn't say they had a contract with the rescue, that they just have an agreement with the rescue. Now, I don't know if that's a signed agreement,
Okay.
but it sounds to me like even if it was, they're donating $40 per cat.
Right. Yeah.
And they said initially they budgeted a whole lot of money for it and didn't use it all.
So anyone could call this rescue, could be unlimited colonies of cats that we're getting, like, do we cap it, or?
Well, right now it's capped at whatever the Humane Society gives us as far as, the coupons for taking the cats over, but I don't believe there is any, no one told me there was any maximum for the rescues.
So would we would use this program in place of our current Humane Society?
Yes.
Could a citizen call any of these rescues themselves?
They are right now. That's how this lady ended up sending me, an email again, because her neighbors are calling 2-3 different rescues to try and, help with the population down there. So yeah, they can, but it's easier, and that may even be the best way for them to hook up with the rescue and find a good time to,
At least in the interim until we have a bigger plan.
is we're not a good answer for them. We don't really have a good answer for them. So I think it would be nice to have an answer where they can go, and even if we do foot the bill, we're certainly not footing it for, it's like 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a good thing for the website.
Yeah.
Social media, has to get a lot of attention.
I think that covered me.
Um,
Pedestrian safety. I did send you another, it is set of information. And we are participating in a clip it or ticket grant right now. And then after that pedestrian grant, another they're small grants, but we're getting grants from the county to do some work on, clip it or tickets, seat belts, which are kind of hard to tell at night, but part of the time has to be done at night, so you guys are out right now probably doing it. So we got another pedestrian round coming up in the very near future. I think it was the last time we sat down on East Main Street for a little while.
Chief, we had a discussion about the line painting on South Market Street. Were you able to connect with Engineer Rogalski?
No.
No.
Actually, I gave that to the man who knows what he's talking about, Sergeant Dyer, and he did not say anything about having hooked up with Rogalski about putting those signs there, yes. But that is, we are planning on doing that.
And that is a requirement for enforcement in that particular area to have those lines so that you can do the timing to do the speed enforcement. I think council did receive the quotes from Chief Myers that were in the packet for 2 additional, it was for repair of additional, speed times.
Right, those are the solar powered ones.
Solar power.
Can the battery powered ones that were previously purchased be converted?
I didn't ask that question, but I have a feeling that the answer would be no.
Can you, you and I had a brief conversation about the process of changing those batteries. Is that something you could share with us?
It takes 2 people, because it has to be set up high enough off the ground so that it's not, something somebody wants to try and take advantage of stealing. And the batteries are fairly heavy and unwieldy, so it takes 2 people to change the batteries out. A lot of times, it doesn't take long once they get started, but it does take 2 people initially.
Then you made a comment, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that when somebody was new doing that, it was taking them quite a bit of time, but once they were more familiar with, because they had to detach the entire sign from the pole, is that correct?
Yes.
So I didn't know if other councils had been aware of that, but that's, and how often does that need to be done, Chief?
We're looking at like 4 to 5 days.
Every 4 to 5 days.
Right.
Yeah, the solar ones seem to be a better option.
Well, we're only using one battery at that time. I don't know if it's gonna make any difference if we use both of them at once or not. And buying it like an additional battery or two to have in spare, I don't know if it runs any different on two. We were just using one.
I saw a solar powered system similar to ours in another community recently. They're very nice looking and, positioned correctly, it seems like we save a lot of labor.
That is a good edit, I mean.
How long does it take, 4 to 5 days for the battery?
I think the only thing that I believe we've come up with the 4 to 5 days is because nobody really notices it until they're not on.
Okay.
And then we try to figure back, when was the last time you drove through there? Oh, okay. So it may be even a little longer, but I'm pretty sure it's like 5 days would be a good guess. That's with one battery, and he was gonna try it with two, and I haven't asked him if that increased it at all. Yeah.
I saw Sergeant Dyer today, but I only got to speak with him for a little bit. Could you briefly elaborate on the plan for the current signs? Is there rotating around?
Yes, he has a list, where people would like to see those go up. And what he's gonna do is actually split them and try to get them to places quicker. So if we have another setup, that'll make a difference, but right now he plans to split them up, take them, he has a list, and he keeps adding to the list, which is another reason why he wants to split them up. But they're gonna go to places where people are complaining about speeding, and we can see if it does any good where.
And then the list got bigger after people saw them on South Market Street.
It did, it's growing every day.
I have a question about that. So, did I see them over by Legacy?
Upper Allen has some, yeah, but you might have seen them over at, Norway and Sharon.
Yeah.
He was gonna put them over there.
Is there that much traffic there that, I mean, we've talked about that area.
Right, that intersection was talked about, so we just put them over there, just to see if they're, what that was bringing up.
That intersection's a pretty hot topic for back to school time, with people running the stop signs. I know that's been brought up a couple of times.
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do with these, remotely too, which we haven't actually gotten trained on yet. They just went out there and stuck them up there themselves, and we're waiting for the company to give us a little bit of information on, you can put an app on your phone, for anything. But this works, you can do it remotely too. And like if something came up and we wanted to put lost child or whatever on those, we could specifically say that.
And I'm just curious, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but are we following up the sign placement with enforcement? It seems to me that without enforcement, ultimately.
Not yet. Not yet. We're involved in these two grants right now. And the manpower situation, as you know, it hasn't quite gotten better yet. We're working on it, but it's not better yet. So that's one of the problems we've got, because right now, there are many lines to do, the timing, speed timing. So we want to put those back on South Market Street before they get started there, and then there's a couple of other locations where they were painted. But that is our ultimate goal. Yes.
Is there an estimated time until those lines are painted?
No, I don't know, I can't answer that because I haven't spoken to Sergeant Dyer yet.
I was, for the meeting on Walnut Street, and noticed the signs were up, and there was some type of enforcement, Chief Lang formally talked about that, so there may have been the appearance of it as a clip and ticket, but there may have been that, hey, those signs are up, and then somebody gets pulled over for something else, so there was at least progress.
Yeah, they went over there for first day of school, so we'll be moving them soon somewhere else. But I'll work on that. I think I see him tomorrow, I'll ask him, but of course I don't see Engineer Rogowski. Is he deployed somewhere?
No, I'll follow up with him.
Okay.
Regard to the line.
Very good. Yep.
Thank you, Chief. Do you have anything else?
Only that once those lines are up, anyone can do traffic enforcement there, one person.
You're saying one officer assigned can do traffic enforcement there? So that'll make enforcement easier to schedule?
Yep.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. Well needed.
Moving on to Fire Chief.
Okay, good evening. So as if you would, part of the presentation that was earlier as part of my monthly report, they kind of pulled me in for a lot of the info and admin work for the prep for that. But, so let's talk about, here we are into September, and it's great to see that, vacation season's pretty much over, kids are back in school. So we look back at the last couple of months, our level of service, we were able to retain the same level of service as we did through the vacation season. So really like that, be able to, that was a plus. So a little bit better than even last year when not so many folks went away. Okay, let's talk about, I got my fingers crossed, just as early as several hours ago, the grants liaisons, whenever we talked about one of our FEMA grants in the ballpark of about $360-some thousand for SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. The one liaison we just contacted, the feds wanted to know, they were doing a question on two of the things, and one in particular was the address of the Citizens Fire Company popped up. So what that is that's a good flag for us that we're through pretty much the elimination process, so, and in the final stages of the award. So I'm hoping that next month at this time we'll be able to pass the word that the SCBA grant is taken care of and out there and awarded. The other thing, let me see. I'm just busy shopping workers' comp and insurance claims and trying to look at creative ways to drive down costs. That's all I have. Any questions?
Quick question. There was a workers' comp claim recently, I think, that from an incident that happened some time ago. I didn't know, were you involved in that?
I was.
Okay. Everything went well with that, my understanding was.
It did.
Okay. Just a quick curiosity question. It was asked of me, is there a time limit for reporting of incidents when they happen, of course? And in my world there is. Is there in your world also?
So this one was a little bit different. Interesting who was asking, but so that information that would be filtered to us, we have what now that I've been stated, there's always been accident forms in fire stations. For some reason, this particular incident happened in May at a training incident. And it was, at that time, the officers didn't know about it, not me. I didn't know about it until several months ago. But what happened was an ongoing issue that the individual had some problems and then it resonated up to her neck. She went for an MRI. She was using her healthcare provider to cover those costs. And at that time, they said it was from a traumatic injury. When was the last, what can you remember? And it dated back to that specific injury. Working with Swift within the last several days, I was just on the phone today with them. They said they will support and take care of all that costs. So that was the lag time. I created a document, that Swift document, and I passed that out to the fire officers maybe about 2 weeks ago. And so we're going to use that for even any sort of an exposure. If we're, say we're working a job and we have asbestos net, more as a precautionary as well. So, because the fire department, we didn't have a precautionary, and I'm familiar with them in the past, so we started that.
Well, I think that's fantastic, and I think you and your officers should be commended. Thank you also for taking care of the volunteers in that particular incident. It's wonderful that that person is now covered by the protections when they're spending so much of their effort protecting us. So thank you, Chief, very much. That was a really nice ending to what could have been an unpleasant story, so I thought it was a good thing for all of us to hear about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Answer Wall?
Good evening, I do have my written report, just a few things I wanted to highlight and one that's not on there. Thank you for the approval of the ground service agreement for Penn State Health Pipeline and the memorandum of understanding. I think that will move things forward with that process, both with the fire department and also with Penn State Health Pipeline. COVID, the only update that I will give is that boosters have been approved and are available for the latest variant, well, probably not the latest variant, but one of the more recent variants. If you're looking for Pfizer, go to a retail place such as CVS, and if you're looking for Moderna, go to your local doctor's office. If you want the vaccine this week, that would be my recommendation based on the data I received today on who has those booster shots. The one thing I'll add that's not in my report is I met last week with FEMA with an S and FEMA with a P regarding our reimbursement of funds way back in 2020 for the funding that we spent on cleaning supplies and protective equipment for COVID-19. We actually haven't received all the money yet on that. We received the money from FEMA, which is the 75%, but there's a 25% that the State Emergency Management Agency has to provide. So FEMA is in the process, in fact, they should have done it by now, but I haven't received an email that says they did, of closing out our case. Once they close out, it goes to FEMA. FEMA then has 10 days to close it out, and then, or I think they have 3 weeks to close it out, and then when they close it out, 10 days from there, we should receive the remaining amount, which is approximately $1,318. I am 95% sure that we received the original $3,800 and some from FEMA, but I am working with Treasurer James just to make sure that we did receive that amount. I'll take any questions, otherwise that's the end of my report.
Any questions? Thank you, MC Ward. Do we have anything else from Public Works and Safety? Any committee members have any items that they want to speak on? Councilman Bird?
Yeah, thank you. So we did have a really good meeting on the street sweeping as well. So it might be a good moment to just touch base on that. Thank you to those who participated, and thank you to our acting borough manager, Ms. James. Thank you so much for organizing that meeting. We had a good conversation with the vendor. All the answers to the questions that were asked were very satisfactory. We're looking at possibly 2 complete sweeps, and complete sweeps, my understanding of council's wish was to have every street in the borough swept. So the 2 complete sweeps would occur, one in September, one after leaf collection. We're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays as general days of the week for that to occur, with no enforcement of the no parking. It won't follow the signs at all. Our distribution of information will be sent out mostly electronically, and we thought maybe with a billing cycle, depending on whether things fall in line time-wise that way. The one request that was brought up by the vendor, and possibly Steve can address this if he wants to, is the vendor had asked for a highway person who was familiar with street sweeping to accompany the driver for 3 or 4 days in order to reduce the driver's time in learning the borough, where to turn around, what streets, etc. Their argument was that we would spend less in terms of dollars on hourly street sweeping. My response, and I said I wanted to clear this with council, was that it would slow down our line painting or other critical functions of the highway department, that we would likely not want to commit that time. But it did not slow those activities down. Steve was kind enough to educate me a little bit on weather impact and its effect on his crew's ability to do their work. So if there was time in your labor force that he might be able to do that. Further dialogue came up after that meeting that there might be someone in the sewer department who might also have been a street sweeper that might be able to do that. That conversation is coming to our superintendent tonight for the first time. Surprise. At any rate, we also talked about the number of hours sweeping in a day, because we want to maximize the efficiency of the billing cycle. It was suggested 7 to 8 hours of actual sweeping time could be done, and so we would have the transportation of the unit in and the unit out with 7 to 8 hours sandwiched in between, which seemed like a very full day. They said they were covered by DOT regulations in terms of their driver's ability to continue functioning a piece of equipment. And that was within those limits. They do not know how long it will take to sweep the entire borough, but I believe we got them a map. We did get the map.
Yes.
Yes. So we got a new map, because the map that had been provided previously was only the historic and business district. That was it. So they had never seen the full map. They have seen that now, and they're working on some data that we requested. We haven't received that yet.
Not yet.
They had never put together data on curb miles in terms of time. They simply did not have it, but they felt that the question was a good one, and they felt they would use it with other municipalities, so they're putting that data together now. They're going to come back with an estimated number of hours to complete our area. So, it was a very productive meeting. I think we're moving in the right direction for sure, and should have some answers soon. I would expect very shortly. Any questions that other council members have? Okay, thank you. Thanks again to everybody who participated.
Thank you, Councilman Yuri. Moving on to municipal community outreach, Councilman.
Yes, the library report starts with the executive director, Erdman, informing us just today, I think it was just today, that the Keystone grant that they were going to apply to get funding for the new Agway building, they have now decided to withdraw from that for now because of a lot of unknowns. And they will be looking at other funding options rather than one for that grant. So if you recall, we were asked and required from the borough entity to participate in getting that started and supporting that, but that no longer is necessary. School board report.
There's no lot going on there except that they are having cost overruns and they're trying to work through how to cut back on the cost of the build out over the high schools.
So updates on our committees. Well, the website redesign is moving along as slow as the slides were moving today, but we are making progress. We have the redesign map, the map work, I should say, the site map, in its final stage. So we hope to have some, what I've asked for was some target dates, and so hopefully we'll get that soon from our vendor, so that then I can report to you some target dates as when we expect the new and improved website to be up and running. So I'm excited about that, but things do move a little slower these days. So you also know we've been working on the upgrades to this room as far as audio visual. We're making some notes just tonight as we were trying to watch the screen here and the glares and the lights and other things. So we did get a preliminary proposal from Third Element, but we realized that the cost of that and additional information that was needed, we may do a formal RFP, but we have to discuss if that is absolutely necessary, and I guess we can discuss that here. And then move forward with that process. So it's important work to improve the experience here, and also the experience of anyone who wants to watch and maybe someday participate from a remote location. So I'd love to hear from council any questions they have or any input they have. I know I mentioned some of the options before that we're looking at as far as cameras, microphones, television screens, but does anyone have any questions, input?
mind seeing multiple, not an RFP, but I guess an RFP would be appropriate to see options.
We will be required to go out for public bid because of the price.
We have a ballpark on the price, and we know it's gonna top out.
I think too, when we're looking at multiple vendors, and I'm sure that your committee's already looking into this, but I'll just mention it.
Sure.
That we consider, and I'm gonna preface this by saying, this just happened to me again today. That we ensure that whoever our technology support company is, will support the equipment regardless of who installs it. Because again today, I was told by a company which shall go unnamed for the moment, that they are not gonna support something that they supported not more than a year ago, because they turned over management of that part of our technology to another firm for a limited period of time, and now that technology's come back, they put it in, and they said, sorry, it's gonna cost more to support. So I will say that, not happy about that, and our organization has spoken to this other organizations. So
I think it's something that we should definitely watch out for, especially if we have to go out for bid and say if another the work is completed by another IT firm, we should make sure that whatever work is completed by that firm is supported by the people who currently have our contractor, who currently support.
And that is an important value that has already been added to the process. So we'll carry that forward, but I appreciate that, as, from your experience with the IT company.
I'm not going to calm down from that.
Whoever we go with, we have to make sure that they're able to keep our system CGIS compliant in order for us to have, our systems locked down, as per federal regulations.
Chief, I don't think we're talking about at this particular time going out for the entire borough for an IT firm. It's just specifically for the AV chambers, for the AV functions in the chamber.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So, any ideas or any discussion on any aspects of this? We speak now, we'll move forward and then report back, but that's where we are with this
I think
process.
we should move forward with the process and get some sort of RFP developed and work with the solicitor on the requirements to put it out for bid.
Okay, so we'll do that. All right. That completes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to Community and Economic Development, Councilman Fury.
Thank you. Ms. Fury, would you like the floor?
You betcha.
One of my favorite times of the month.
You all have a copy of my report. This, last week, the About Face Review Panel approved a grant for Gleeful Candle Company, a small grant. They redone the storefront, really fixed up the inside. It's unrecognizable. You'll probably use that word in another project here, too. And they were featured in Susquehanna Style magazine, the September issue. They just opened the beginning of August and have already hosted a bunch of different events there. The owner is Bianca Pacendo. The Vineyard property, which includes Fantastic and Chef de Crepe, finally they're getting their estimates for the work to be done there to paint the entire building. They've finished the coil work and taken care of some of the windows on the side so that they will look more uniform and fit in there. So we hope to get that done. It's getting late, but we hope to get that done this year. Arc Fitness opened in the Curran Furniture Building. The Curran Furniture and Mattress part of the business is now in the very back of the building, the addition of the building. Their work is largely, aside from the Adirondack chairs and that sort of thing that are still out in the front, is mostly online. so they don't need that huge showroom. But look at the picture here. This is, talk about a transformation. If you worked from the inside out, you would never believe that you were in that building. So that's very nice. Noah Snyder used to work at a Main Street business here, an IT Main Street business, and in a number of different health and fitness centers. He is the owner, and Members First financed his project at that location. The Chef de Crepe unit, I've taken an eatery, a restaurant interest through there a couple times. It is just not going to work for them. It's not big enough. Once they would put a hood system in, and even if they took away one of the restrooms, it's just not going to be, it's not practical to put that much money into a lease space. So I am working with this particular interest. We have another property in mind, and that would be a lease project, but a good-sized one that I expect we would look to the Borough to help finance, Cumberland County, and a private lender. So more on that in the coming months. Jalissa Mayo is an entrepreneur. She's interested in opening a trade school. That's all I'm going to tell you, a trade school. She's looking at a number of places in Carlisle and here, but in particular, there's a location here that she is interested in. She would also open some companion businesses at that location in line with the trade school. Tailored for You celebrates 16 years in business. Redevelopment Authority provided them with their initial loan, and the borough came in a few years ago when they wanted to expand their location on East Main Street. We're very happy for them. Dick Fielding's project, it's a gingerbread man. He does not have a timeline yet to open. He's having some problems, not so much with supply, but with labor, finding people to do the work that still needs to be done there. However, he is reapplying for an economic development liquor license and will align the name of the property, the name of the business owner, the real estate, and all with one name. That was the problem with the first one. So he's going to need to come back to Borough Council and have a public hearing in order to get a resolution or an ordinance to put that into motion. He doesn't have a timeline for that either, but I think we'll have that by the end of the year. The Ferry Festival is this weekend. The Pennsylvania Tea Festival is attracting a lot of media attention. That's the 23rd and 24th. And the Figs return to Metropolis Collective October 1st. That's what I have. Anything for me? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for taking us through. Appreciate your report. Next up on the hit parade, Planning Commission did meet. The meeting went well. This was for the expansion of John Gross, and the engineers and various professionals are speaking to each other in the mystical language that they use, and it appears that everything's going to go through nicely, so it doesn't appear there'll be any trouble, which I'm sure doesn't come as any great shock. And then there was a bit of discussion during the Planning Commission meeting on streetlights, and we had some conversation about that, which I need to follow up on again. And the information that Carlisle has on their website really is a great resource for the layperson, and even for people who are slightly more educated than that. For people who are highly educated on the issue, I think they're going to want to see more technical details, but PPNL has their technical details, and I know that we've asked for some clarification on some things, and we'll be getting that. I don't think that's come in yet. I haven't seen that. But we're waiting on that data to come in to share with those who have expressed concerns. And then, Harv, do we have anything on Harv?
Just that we have some vacancies on our board, so we'll be looking, and we do have an agenda item on our agenda next week, so we'll meet on the 12th. I'll report our next month.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Agerton, and once again to you for DMP.
DMP will meet next Monday, and then there is a concert on the Green at 6 p.m. on Friday. So if you do not come out to the Christian Jaeger concert, it's a great space. So bring a chair, some blankets out there. It's a good time, and we hope to see everyone there.
Thank you. And does anyone have any items they'd like to discuss? I have nothing else to report. Thank you.
Property, Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Martin.
I do not have a rec board report. We will be meeting next week. I did not receive any information from Councilman Hoover about Shade Tree.
May I speak for him? There's a tree planting on Saturday at 9 a.m. They have 110 trees that they'll be planting. They are looking for volunteers. We've sent it out to a lot of groups. We haven't had an overwhelming response that we will need. So, come in your dungarees and come down there and help plant some trees.
And I did not receive any EAC information from him either. And I think that about covers it, unless anybody has any questions, things to discuss. End of report.
Thank you. Personnel Committee, Councilwoman Iverson.
The only question I have, I hear we have some vacancies for employment for the highway department. Where do we have those job postings? Are we getting any responses?
We actually just got today, we are going to start, hopefully tomorrow, once, we just wanna look at the job description and make sure that it's current and it has everything we want to say that's relevant for today and not do something that was produced 5 years ago. So once we clarify that, we plan to push it out on all social media platforms.
Okay.
So, right now it's just one position.
Just one?
Yeah. Anything else huge?
Okay, moving on to citizen comment.
Mark Stanford, North Forward Street. Just one question is, I know you guys, Bob, you said about having, I can't think of the name, Tug do the South Mountain, Greenway thing. She's not a borough employee, she's a school district employee. And that guy said it has to be a borough employee to sign off on that. Just might want to rethink of who signed off on that South Mountain Greenway thing, because she's not a borough employee, she's a school district. She doesn't work for us. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Stoner. Yeah, anyone else? Mr. Baker?
I'm Harry Baker, I'm on both EAC and Planning Commission, and we did a good discussion at the meeting on looking at potential lighting ordinance, not just streetlights, but lighting, because there's some issues around glow lights and things like that with spillover. Anyway, I provided Councilman George with some information from Pittsburgh, who has a very comprehensive lighting ordinance, and they also made some changes to it. Recently, you're taking advantage of the academic resources they have out there in Dark Skies. And I provided him with some information on one of Pittsburgh. If anybody's interested, I can leave a couple copies of Sarah. They did reduce the temperature of the lights to 3,000 out there, and which seemed to be quite acceptable. Anyway, I just had the information, we had a good discussion, and we thank you for your help on that, and just giving you some additional information for your use. So, Councilman, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any other citizen comments? Moving on to any other business, moving around the table.
Nothing, thank you. Oh, wait, I take it back. Just of course, the response from the fire company, that happened over the weekend. And also it was nice to see the police and the fire company working together to solve problems. So it was an overwhelming response. I don't know.
With Penn State Lifeline.
With Penn State Lifeline right there. So it was just like the perfect, scenario with over 40 respondents coming out. It's always a shock when I see that many volunteers coming out to put out fires, so, I appreciate that, especially since it was so close to my home, but it was nice to see that cooperative action taking place, so thank you again for your leadership. And Chief, you too, because your officers were very kind at the situation that was going on, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I just have a quick one. So the Lions Club here in Mechanicsburg, have been attempting to replace some old dated signs. I know they're working with CH. There's something to do with a tree that needs to be trimmed back, and there's some confusion there. If I could help intervene, I would be very happy to do that before they get the hacksaws out. At any rate, they really appreciate CH's guidance, so thank you for that. But they're really hot on trying to get the signs done, and they don't want to put a burden on our folks. So, again, if I can help in some way with that, please let me know. I don't want to put my nose in where it doesn't belong.
Okay, thank
And
you.
something about repairing brick, like they're getting the mortar out. They think they've kind of been given the green light to do certain things, so maybe we'll touch base.
Yep, we've been, in discussion personally, physically and through email, and I said if it's not an email, it doesn't exist, so I think that they got that hint. So if they're waiting for some type of reply, which I'm seeing here, maybe I, had something that I wasn't able to get to because that's like,
No, close enough, yeah.
then that's good that they're waiting
Did you
for
receive
reply.
it?
I was, from, looks like Saturday, so yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'll attend to that and
No,
keep
if I
moving
can
forward.
help, let me know.
Thank you.
And they're looking forward to replacing faded signs. I have lines all over the borough.
Yeah, we did, to follow up, we did discuss that in person with Linda Grant, was the person who met with me in the field. And as far as a regulatory, requirement, we decided for like a 30-inch, which is what they have now. The Lions Club has a 30-inch diameter sign. They're going to be they have new decals, so they're going to be placing them back over the 30-inch sign. Basically, everybody else's signs that we have throughout are also 30-inch or less, so we'll keep it with a maximum of a 30-inch diameter or width by height, and minor details, per club, if you will, as far as, their preferences.
And to address Councilperson O'Neill's concerns, these are not feral lions. They are not. Thank you.
And nothing.
I have nothing.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.